Most people, when they think about leadership failure, think about the obvious kinds: the leader who is dishonest, the leader who is absent, the leader who does not know the job well enough to run it. These failures are real, but they are not the most common leadership failure Willink identifies. And they are not the one that quietly destroys the most teams, the most missions, and the most careers, without anyone being able to name precisely what went wrong. The most common and most costly leadership failure is this: the leader did not make the mission clear. Not unclear in the abstract sense that vision statements are often unclear, genuinely, practically, operationally unclear in the working day. The people responsible for executing the plan did not share a common understanding of what they were trying to achieve, why it mattered, what trade-offs were acceptable, and what a good outcome looked like in concrete terms they could all point to. Most leaders, when told this, will respond that their mission is clear. They communicated it. They sent the email. They presented the slides. They explained it in the all hands. And their team, if asked independently and without prompting, would describe something meaningfully different. Not completely different. Meaningfully different. In emphasis, in priority, in definition of success, in what they believe the leader wants them to optimize for when options pull in different directions. This is not a communication problem in the narrow sense. It is a clarity problem in the deeper sense of shared understanding failing to form. And Willink is blunt about where responsibility for that sits. If the team did not understand, the communication failed. Full stop. Not they should have asked for clarification, not the message was clear and they failed to process it. The standard Willink sets is unambiguous, and it is the one most leaders find genuinely uncomfortable. It is the leader's responsibility to communicate with enough clarity that misunderstanding is not a reasonable outcome. And if misunderstanding has occurred, as it has evidenced by the gap between what the leader intended and what the team is actually doing, the communication failed and the leader owns that failure entirely. This standard matters because the cost of unclear mission is not simply confusion at the starting point. It compounds. A team without clear mission does not stop and wait for clarity. They continue moving. They make decisions based on their best interpretation of incomplete information. They develop their own working understanding of what success looks like and begin optimizing for it. And because each person's interpretation is slightly different, the team pulls in subtly different directions simultaneously, while individually believing they are aligned and working toward the same outcome. The leader sees the divergence in results. They attribute it to execution failures, discipline problems, the wrong people in the wrong roles. They may be looking at the direct compounded result of a clarity failure they introduced weeks earlier and have never examined honestly. Cover and move. Willink's principle that different elements of a team work toward the same overarching mission, even when operating independently, only functions when everyone genuinely understands what that mission is. When they do not, cover and move becomes each unit pursuing its own interpretation of success and calling it coordination. The clarity failure compounds in a second direction. A team without clear mission cannot exercise good judgment in ambiguous situations. And every real operating environment generates ambiguous situations, where the plan has not anticipated the conditions, where the leader is unavailable, where two reasonable courses of action point in different directions, and someone must choose without escalating. The team that understands the mission can make that choice. They ask, what outcome are we trying to achieve, and act accordingly. The team that does not can only follow rules. And rules without the understanding of why they exist and what they are designed to produce break down at the first edge case they were never written to address. The action before episode 4 is a specific test. Ask 3 people on your team individually, not in a group where they can align their answers, what the current top priority is and what a successful outcome looks like in concrete terms. Do not prime them before asking. Just ask and listen carefully. If the 3 answers are materially the same, your mission is probably clear. If they differ in emphasis, definition of success, time frame, or acceptable trade-offs, you have a clarity failure, and it is yours to fix before anything else. Episode 4 examines the one thing most leaders are most unwilling to examine about themselves and why it is costing them more than anything else in this series. Subscribe so you do not miss it.